فهذا العالم هلا نحن عم نفوت عليه من باب تاني، هو باب انه العالم تستفيد تاخذ الشهادات. نحن ما خسرانين شيء، نحن بالعكس احب عقلنا كلكم تستفيدوا، كلكم تاخذوا الشهادات، تتعرفوا على التكنولوجيا الجديده. نحن بوقت من الاوقات انا عم زور يمكن معرض بكتشف هالاشياء بس انتم مش عم تشوفون، هلا نحن عم نعملها كورك شوب. بالمبدا هودي اللي انا بدي احكيهم كلياتهم يمكن مع شباب. بعرفكم على شاب اسمه من كينو فلو بالسيلز مانجر اسمه أليكس من بالمانيا. أليكس راح يشرح لكم هلا نحن الورشه هي عباره عن 3 ل 5 سيشن حسب ما نشوف التجاوب وحسب ما نشوف الجميع اذا هن قدرانين يتابعوا معنا ولا لا. طبعا اللي بيحضر السيشنز كلهم اوريدي راح توصلوا على الايميل شهاده مصدقه من كينو فلو، وهذه كان في صعوبه لحتى قدرنا نعملها بس انه كنا مصرين عليها. هودي بالمبدا كل الاشياء اللي بدي احكيهم. بتمنى الجميع يكون عامل ميوت. بتمنى انه نحن اذا عندنا اسئله نكتبها بالشات حتى نوجه له اياها بالاخر. وانا تشرفت فيكم جميعا، انبسطت فيكم، مشكورين على حضوركم. وهلا بخلي أليكس you can now start.
Okay, thank you very much, Hussein. So I will now share my screen so you can see what I see. Just a second. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, welcome and thanks everyone for joining today. As Mr. Hussein already said, usually under normal circumstances, we would have really liked to meet you all in person and do this presentation as a live event. But unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, that's not possible. So what we are trying to do now is move this live presentation into an online format. And usually when we do this live presentation, we cover a lot of different topics. And this can take up to 3, sometimes 4 hours. So it's a long day for everyone. And instead of doing one Zoom meeting with 3 or 4 hours, we decided to break it into individual parts. So hopefully we will meet each other in the next 2 or 3 weeks again. And then we can go through all the individual topics. So for today, we are actually planning to have a closer look into the TrueMatch firmware, which is the software that runs all the LED products. And we will look into the Freestyle family of products. Just 1 second, we still have some more people in the waiting room. I just let them in. Okay. So, and the idea behind this is really, we believe in order to get the most out of your LED product, you really need to understand the software behind it. And that's why we will start with the TrueMatch firmware. And then of course, we will also look into the hardware products. But before we do this, I would like to give you a quick introduction. I would like to give you a quick introduction into our company, KinoFlo Lighting Systems. So KinoFlo is located in Burbank, California, in Los Angeles, and we are around for already 35 years. And that company was founded by the handsome gentleman on the left, Frieder Hochheim. And nowadays we are around 100 employees in different departments. So research and development is there, administration, of course, customer service. But for us, a very important fact is that also manufacturing is there. So every KinoFlo LED product that you see comes from that building. So that's like the birthplace of all the KinoFlo LED products. Another very important aspect for us is that we also have our own rental company. So before we actually launch a new product, we give it into our rental department and it really runs through a real life test in the field for at least 3 to 6 months, and then we can make sure that once we have our products ready, people have already used it, and it's really the way they want it. So, but this is of course not how KinoFlo started. So, as I mentioned, Frieder is the founder of the company, and he started as a gaffer. So he's originally from Canada, and in the late 70s, he moved to Los Angeles. And he was fortunate enough to be involved in some of big Hollywood feature film productions, and as a gaffer. And one movie that is very important for the history of the company is the movie Barfly from 1978. So that was the first movie where Frieder used a lot of his own gear. So these were like the first prototypes of KinoFlos. And for those who haven't seen that movie, it plays most of the time in a very small bar. And at that time, the traditional way of creating soft light was really like having a HMI or a tungsten soft light source bouncing into a bounce card and create your soft light. But that takes a lot of space. So therefore, Frieder had the idea of the fluorescence tube. But the problem with regular fluorescence bulbs is that they are very bad in color quality. They are not flicker free. Give me just a second. I try to maybe mute some people. Okay, so they are not. So for everyone, please mute your mics, so then everybody can hear what I say. So, so the problem with those fluorescence tubes at that time was really like they are not flicker free and they're very bad in color. So what Frieder actually did is he created a high frequency remote ballast. And that was like the beginning of the KinoFlo product family. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen those, the traditional KinoFlos, high frequency ballast. But the real breakthrough for KinoFlo came when we decided to create our own fluorescence bulbs. So as I mentioned, fluorescence, regular household bulbs are very bad in color rendering. So what we did is we got in touch with companies like Kodak and Fuji, and we asked them, would you share your film stock response curves with us in order we can create a light source that gives perfect skin tones and perfect color rendition on your film stock. So in Kodak and Fuji, they were very cooperative, and they shared their response curves, and we were able to design fluorescence bulbs who are still a standard till today for great color reproduction. Of course, that's history. Film stock is history, more or less. Everything is digital now. And in the beginning, when they came out with digital cameras like 10 or maybe even 12 years ago, they told us, okay, this is pretty much the same as film. But the reality is it's not. And this is also something that we will have a closer look in the next 2 weeks into the different digital camera response curves. So what we are now doing is we are actually creating LED light sources based on camera response curves. So we create light sources that works perfectly with digital cameras. So we know how to create a very good light spectrum, and we know exactly how cameras respond to discontinuous light, which LED is. So the result of this is our True Match LED chip. So the True Match LED chip is a full spectrum tungsten and daylight LED in 2700 Kelvin and 6500 Kelvin, and that is combined with RGBs, very defined red, green, and blues. So you got a 5-color LED chip in every KinoFlo LED fixture, and that is paired with the True Match firmware. And this is what we will now also look at. So the KinoFlo product range is, it's quite big nowadays. So as I mentioned before, today we will more look into the freestyle product families, so the LED panels and the LED tubes. And in the next days, we will also talk about the image LED products, Diva lights, and the celeb products. So even if they are all vary in light intensity, weight, and size, they all have one thing in common, and this is the control interface, the user interface. So the idea is really, once you know one, you know all of them, you know how to control all of them. So, and that's why it is so important to understand the system behind it. So this is what we call the true match firmware. One system for all of the fixtures. So the controller that you see here, or the display that you see here, is basically attached to every LED product, or some products like the Freestyle product line, they have a detachable controller. But they all come with this mode button that you need for navigation, and you got this little knob on the side to enter the settings. So what we start with is white mode. So we have different modes, and the first one is white mode. White mode gives you 3 basic features. So you get your intensity control, and the interesting thing about the dimming settings here is that you can fine-tune the dimming down to 0.2%. So in low light situations, you have full control, and of course, all the way up to 100%. So you got intensity, full Kelvin control, of course, from 2500 up to almost 10,000 Kelvin. And you get green and magenta control, meaning you can add green or magenta to your Kelvin setting to adjust to other light sources or even to different camera types. So, and with these 3 settings, intensity, Kelvin temperature, plus and minus green, we basically believe 90% of the regular jobs can be covered. But for the other 10%, we added additional modes. So, and the next mode that we will look at is called the gel mode. The easiest way to jump from one mode into the next mode is just pressing menu for 3 seconds, and then the display will flip and you are in gel mode. So gel mode still gives you intensity control, Kelvin temperature control, and plus and minus green, just like we had in the white mode before. But in addition, you get a new line, and that says gels. So, and behind that line, you find more than 100 cinema gels, and also KinoFlo defined colors, like sodium vapor, mercury vapor, which is, for example, street lighting or tunnel lighting. So, and this looks a little bit like this. So you can just scroll through those different colored gels and select a specific blue type or purple or whatever. And we ordered them in a way that you have all the color groups connected to each other. So when you have a green gel, for example, you have a variety of green gels right next to each other. So you can really choose them. And you still have full control about your Kelvin temperature. So is it a tungsten light source or a daylight light source with a gel in front? Of course, that has an effect on the color of the gel. But we give you even more control. So in addition to the gel line, you also have hue control, and hue is related to the color wheel. And this is something that we will also look deeper into the next 2 sessions to give you some more feedback about that. So hue is related to the color wheel, and basically what you do is you go 360 degrees in the color wheel. And you also have full control about the saturation of the color. So in this example, we have selected a blue screen gel, and it says 244 hue. So that means you travel 244 degree in the color wheel, and saturation is 100. So you are right here at the edge and you get a very saturated color. just a second. So please, everyone, mute your mic. That would be very helpful. Just a second. Okay, now I muted all the mics. So basically, you can now also start and create your own colors. So by using hue and saturation, you are able to move freely into that color wheel and create a color that you like and even save it as a preset. So these buttons here, you have to imagine they're like in a car radio. Just hold them for a couple of seconds and they will save your setting. So that is what we call the gel mode, the color mode. But we also added an additional color mode, and that's called the RGB mode. And why do we add RGB? So first of all, RGB mode is very useful if you want to recreate a very specific color. I will show you some examples for that in a second, but also if you want to control the unit, for example, through an app, some of these apps demand RGB. So it covers basically those two options. So you are free to recreate colors in a slightly different way than in the gel mode. While in the gel mode, we had to go 360 degree in the color wheel. In RGB mode, you can go any direction you want to. So you can go from magenta to green without going through blue, for example, or without going through red. But as I mentioned, also there are some apps available who actually build on RGB mode. So for app use, and this is also something that we will cover in one of the next sessions, that will be the DMAX and wireless DMAX session, where we talk exactly about how to control these products wireless, what can you do, what options do you have. And then if you want to recreate a very specific color, and I had this case when I met a gaffer who told me, I love your gel mode, but there is one gel that I really, really like, but it's not in there. I suggested him this app here. So that app is called Show Tools Watch. And basically what it has all the different gel manufacturers in there and all their gels. So you can select a gel and it will give you the RGB value for that gel. So in this gaffer, this lighting guy, he was looking for steel green. So we looked up the gel and then it gives you those RGB values in the app. So what you now can do is you can just dial those values in and create that specific gel that you wanted. So then you can
Alexa, check
yes.
waiting room. Alexa, check waiting room, please.
It's empty right now.
Okay. Because somebody is requesting me.
Okay. But thanks for the reminder. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can do the same thing with all different colors. So for example, if you have a interview situation with, I don't know, somebody from the Coca-Cola company, you know, you can dial in that specific Coca-Cola red. You can do this with all type of custom colors. All you need is those RGB values. And for example, as I mentioned, Coca-Cola, you can just look up those RGB values on the internet. Or if you want to recreate a gel, like in this case, you can easily do this with the help of an app. So that's what I want to tell about RGB without going into the wireless control. So then we added a additional mode. So I think it's important for you to understand that everything I show you right now is a lot of information. So nobody expect that you remember everything I show you. So for that reason, we also recording this session. And you will be able to review it in a couple of days if you want to. So what we added in addition to RGB mode is the XY mode. And XY is very helpful for everyone who's working on a set with more than just a KinoFlo fixture. Because what you can do with XY, it basically relates to the CIE color space diagram that you see on the left. And this is something that we will really discuss in detail in the next 2 weeks. So you can measure, for example, a HMI fixture on the set or another LED fixture on the set. and with a color meter, and that will give you the X, Y values. You dial those values into the KinoFlo LED fixture, and the KinoFlo LED will match that HMI color, that LED color. So that's a very useful tool if you work on a set with more than just one type of manufacturer like KinoFlo. So now we're coming to a fun part. That's the special effect mode. So for special effect mode, I created some videos for you to watch. So let's just have a look here. So basically effect mode gives you access to 8 main effects. So meaning we have different types of effects, and you always get a good amount of variations of that effect. So not every effect in every movie looks the same. So for example, the first one is candle. So, and with candle, that's very impressive because you can set the Kelvin temperature for that candle, but then that's the midpoint. So for example, you select, like in this video, 1900 Kelvin, it will go down 200 Kelvins up and 200 Kelvins down. So it gives you that variation in color temperature like a real candle. And then you can also select different variations. So right now the setting here is on interior, but you can also change it to breeze, which gives you larger jumps in brightness. So different variations. And the same, for example, the same works in fire. So you got a fire effect. And the pretty thing here is really that you have full control about the rate and the amplitude. So you can change the speed of the flicker effect, and you can also change the differences in brightness. So that's the fire effect. Then one of my favorites, the TV effect. So in TV, you get 3 different variations. So you have like movie or music video that gives you higher jumps in different colors. Or you have sports, which you saw in that little movie before. So that gives you more of the greens and the blues. So you have really a big variation of different effects. And then we go to police mode. Oops. So, and police mode basically should be called emergency vehicles, because you have a big variety of different types of emergency vehicle cars, like blue and red, or just yellow, or blue, white and red, or just blue. So you can really change all those different international cars, or is it a police, a fire car, whatever. It's all in there, and you can just do it in seconds and manipulate the settings in a way that it really works well for what you plan to do. So then there's lighting mode. there you go. And then you see it's just fake. So as I said, I mean, you get different types, again, of lighting effects. The sound is not part of the feature, but it gives you this big variety, and it goes on like that. So you got your paparazzi effect, you got pulse. So depending on what you plan to shoot, that could be very useful. So you can still navigate and control the colors and set the hue and the saturation and the rate. So it gives you all that flexibility. So the last effect that we implemented is scroll. And scroll basically takes you through the complete color wheel. So 360 degree in the color wheel, and you set your time. And this could be like good for bars or disco scenes and stuff like this. And those are the basic modes that we have implemented. So, and after effect mode, you would jump back into white. So I hope this gave you a first brief introduction into the firmware and the possibilities of it. And now I would like to introduce you a little bit to the hardware, because as I said, everything that we just saw works exactly the same way with all of these products that you see here. So even if they are all vary in size and weight and light output, they also still have some shared qualities. So for example, one really important factor is maintaining the quality. So KinoFlo LED products come with a really superior heat management system. So that means we don't use any fans, so they are that quiet and you won't hear them on set. But what we learned in 30 years of fluorescence technology was really like that heat management is the key to good color maintenance. A lot of time people ask me, how long is the lifetime of the LED? And, you know, the really good question would be, how long do I have good color quality? Because LEDs, they will almost live forever. But for our industry, it's very important that you have good color quality. So this is what KinoFlo really stands for. We have our LED products in our own rental for more than 8 years. So we started 8 years ago with the LED product line. And every 6 months we do color tests and we do intensity tests. And for those past 6, 7, 8 years, no change in color quality or light intensity. And I think that's something that people don't see, but that's very important. So we will go through the complete toolbox. So this is how I like to call our product range, because basically it is a toolbox for you. But today we will start really with the freestyle product family. So we will talk about the freestyle panels. So freestyle is a family of products. So there are 4 different sizes of panels. The most common one and the famous one is the Freestyle 31. This is like a 1 meter version and has a very similar light characteristic to the traditional KinoFlos. And the latest one, the newest one that just came to the family is the Freestyle Mini. So the Freestyle Mini is really just a small version of the Freestyle product family, but it gives you all these amazing features that you just saw. It's a tiny unit with a lot of flexibility and ideal as a fill light or in a car, or if you're shooting in a tight location like you see in that image in a grocery store. So this is really where the Freestyle Mini finds its place. So the Freestyle 21 is a 60 centimeter version. And of course, this is also like a mobile unit or for tight locations. So what is really unique about the Freestyle family is that they all use the same components. So the Freestyle Mini, the Freestyle 21, the 31, the 41, they can all operate with the same type of controller, the same type of extension cable, the same type of mounting plate. So that gives you a lot of flexibility, and whatever you need on set, you know, you just need to change the lighting head and you can use the same controllers. So the controller on the Freestyle family is separated. So it's a remote controller that you can connect to the LED fixture with up to 2 extension cables, so up to 16-meter difference. And of course, that's interesting if you want to rig your units, like on a boom arm or in a grid or on a stand, and that's very high up. You can still control it from the floor with your controller. And at the same time, it reduces the weight of the unit. So when we look a little bit deeper into the controller, we have to say it's really like the heart of the system. So every Freestyle controller comes with the TrueMatch firmware that we just looked at, but they are also all able to operate on DMAX and wireless DMAX. So for those who don't know, that's a way of remote controlling one unit or several units, and usually used in studios. But nowadays with the wireless control option, also on a lot of film sets or on location shootings, because it's just very fast and easy to operate the units. And this topic will be covered next week or maybe the week after. And we will go really in detail about those wireless control features. They are all the KinoFlo LED products are universal voltage. That means you can use them everywhere in the world, and you can operate them from battery. So 18 to 36 volt, you can operate them with B-mount batteries or everything that gives you that voltage in between. And as I mentioned before, you know, it operates all the different panel systems as well as the LED tubes. Of course, there's a ballast mount that you can use, but the pretty thing is you can also attach it to the fixture or detach it. So if you attach it to the unit, you have a form factor that you see on the right picture. It's really more like a compact unit that you can use for interviews or run and gun situations. And if you want to use them as individual and flexible as possible, you can just simply remove it. The mounting plate, for those who know KinoFlo for a while, this is the same type of mounting plate that we used on the traditional KinoFlos. So it is a twist on. It comes with what we call the lollipop that also allows you 360-degree rotation of the unit. So you get different options for rigging. So that's important for film sets. So you get these different rigging options. Then there's one feature that we introduced with the Freestyle product line, and that's what we call the quick release feature. So you can use the LED panel in the housing and use the barn doors, or you just remove the LED panel and you still have the option to mount a mounting plate on it, or you also get access to the easy rigging corners that you see here. So the easy rigging corners can be used to really rig the units from top and create a very gentle and color correct soft light source directly from the top, and you are still able to use the grid for better lighting control. What we see is also that people like to remove the plastic housing when they start to create bigger light sources. And the beauty about doing it in a way like you see on those images is that you still have full control about each individual panel. So you can either color mix, or you can you know, have different intensity levels on those panels and create a very nice controllable big soft light source. And this also gets used in bigger setups like in this one. So they used 6 Freestyle 31s and had very little weight. on their setup. So when you take the LED panel out of the plastic housing, of course, it's also easier to hide it on a set, like you see in these images. So basically they were built into the set. And this is something that you see on a lot of Netflix productions. They have a lot of our freestyle products on those, and they are hiding them a lot of time in the set. And since they are very lightweight, you can just, you know, if you mount them in a small location like here, using a boom arm is no problem, or even using a big rig like this, weight is not an issue with the freestyle LED panels. So in case you need more rigging options, there are more rigging options. And the reality is, you know, KinoFlo combines this rigging mentality and lighting mentality, because our vice president is actually a best boy, which is the guy who's in charge for the rigging on set. So this one is called the gaffer tray. Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful if you want to actually attach the panels to a ceiling or to a wall. And again, very good to hide in a set. If you cannot, you know, put screws into a wall or whatever, you can also use it like this gentleman in this image, and just use ropes or stuff like this, or belts to attach it to something. Putting the LED panel back into the plastic housing is as easy as taking it out, just the way you see it here. So this is actually the first section about the LED panels. And now we are looking at the LED tubes. So the Freestyle T44 is actually it's the same size and the rebirth basically of our traditional KinoFlo fluorescent products. It has the same usability as the traditional KinoFlos. You know, it's still very lightweight. It can be used in studios. It can be used as individual tubes. And it also comes basically with the same components as you know from the traditional 4-bank. So you got your lighting fixture, you got a controller, a mounting plate, a cable, and that's it. So the same components that Gaffer are used to work with for the last 20 or 30 years in the industry. If we compare it side by side with the traditional 4-bank, you see that it basically has, the new one has less weight, needs less power, but gives you more light output. So it still comes with the same rigging options as the traditional 4-bank, but the beauty really is the LED tube inside, because the LED tube itself is a high output LED tube. So it's, as far as I know, the brightest LED tube in the industry. It gives you 310 degrees of illumination. So it's almost like a real fluorescent tubes, and not just 180 degree like most of the other LED tubes in the industry. It's IP64. That means it's actually waterproof. The only thing you can't do is go diving with it, but it's rainproof, dustproof, everything. And it's super lightweight. So it's less than half a kilogram. So the LEDs that we use in this LED tube are the same colors that we use on the Freestyle panels or the other KinoFlo LED products. So color-wise, they will all match perfectly together. The beauty about this 360 or almost 360 degree beam angle is, if you use them in a housing like the traditional 4-bank, you use the reflector and you create one big soft light source. Usually when you do this, you have like 4 different light sources in one house and 4 different shadows. Here it's really, it operates as one big soft light source with the option you know, just take out the tubes and use them individual. So all of them come with this aluminum mounting rail where you can add different mounting accessories. So this one is called the baby pin for the tube, and this is the most common one. So you can add, you know, a hanging kit, so you can hang those bulbs. You have the opportunity to, you know, add a reflector to it or mount them in any situation like you see here, you know, and the reflector will give you a little bit more direction. So instead of spilling the light everywhere, you know, it goes more straightforward and gives you that forward punch. There is a single stand for the tubes that is very handy if you work on location. And one thing that's important if you want to create your own shapes is this little tool here. So we call it the Freestyle Tube Combiner. And that allows you to build shapes like you see here in very short time. And last but not least, regarding additional tools is good old gaffer tape, because again, the tubes are so lightweight that you can just tape them to a bar, a car, or, you know, any situation. One thing that I would like to introduce you to is a book that you find on the KinoFlo webpage. It's called Creative Setups with KinoFlo LED Tubes. And that will show you and explain you the light characteristics of those different tube setups. So we have a big variety of different setups that you can see, and you will also see the final images out of those. So as you can see here, I mean, this is one T44, one 4-bank, but basically you can use them to create a 4-light setup. And that's really, really cool. And of course, you know, the flexibility and imagination of the lighting gaffer or the photographer or the DP, there are no limitations with those tubes. So again, for those who know the traditional KinoFlos, it gives you the same usability, but now with all the color features, all the control features that you know from the LED product line. And the beauty for me really is you have one big soft light source when you use the tubes in the fixture, but again, you are always free to detach the bulbs, use them individual, and create up to a 4 lighting setup with only one light source. So that's I think it's really impressive. And of course, they are available in the same sizes as you know them from the traditional KinoFlos. So there is a 4-bank, the T44, a 4-feet double, a 4-feet single, and the tubes are also available in just 2 feet, so 60 centimeters as well. A question that we always get is about light control, because KinoFlo is a soft light company. All we do is creating soft light sources. And in order to control soft lights, you need tools. So just to give you an idea, so when you have a, or this is like the overview of the different light shaping tools, but this is how the unit would illuminate a background if you would use it open face without any additional tools. Every KinoFlo LED fixture already comes with a 90-degree honeycomb louver, a grid. So that's already part of it. So you can use it or don't use it, but you already have those two features. And in addition to that, there are usually also 60-degree honeycomb grids. So this is mainly used for studio setups where you have very fixed positions. Then barn doors is still an important topic. Oops, just want to mute it. Okay. So barn doors are still very important because what you can do with a louver is not always the same thing that you can do with a barn door. So as you see in that video, for example, the unit on the top, you know, it has the barn door open to also illuminate the background, but it cuts off the light with the other barn door in order not to hit the camera. So this is something that barn doors, for example, are very, very useful and get used a lot. So this is another example, you know, how to or that barn doors are still actually pretty helpful. And at the same time, they are also protection for the unit. So the barn doors are basically their own protection system. So this is something that is very popular in the industry. Of course, for all our freestyle and LED products, there are also snapbacks. So, and this is beautiful because you have still a very compact system, but you can add a snapback and all of a sudden the size of the unit doubles. Let me just check if I can mute some people. Just a second. Okay. Okay, so there are snapbacks available for all of these units, and what I really highly suggest you, I mean, of course, COVID is now a problem, but once you feel safe and I mean, visit MK Pro, they have the products there, and you can have a real first-hand experience with those units. And I would also, you know, if you want to get in touch with us directly, we are on all social media platforms, and we are always happy if you get in touch with us. And now for me is actually only to say thank you very much. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gave you a first impression of what KinoFlo is doing nowadays. And if you have any questions, now is a good time for it.